The signal came without warning. At first, people thought it was just another glitch. In New York, a news reporter stopped speaking in the middle of a live broadcast. In Tokyo, every billboard screen turned black at the same time. In London, traffic lights froze. Phones stopped working. Military radar systems shut down for 3 long seconds. Then every screen on Earth, every television, every computer, every tablet, every satellite display turned completely dark. The world went silent. Then white letters appeared across the black screens. The message was simple. People of Earth, kneel or be wiped from existence. No logo, no flag, no explanation. Just those words. Billions of people stare at the same message at the exact same moment. For the first time in human history, the entire planet was watching the same thing. Scientists rushed to their equipment. Cybersecurity experts tried to trace the source. Governments feared it was a powerful cyber attack. But within minutes, the truth became far more frightening. The signal did not come from Earth. It did not come from any satellite orbiting the planet. It did not even come from within the solar system. It came from deep space, from far beyond Pluto, from a direction that made experienced astronomers feel cold inside. The signal came from the Andromeda Galaxy. At the Global Space Observation Center, Dr. Elias Varma stared at the data with shaking hands. The transmission power was impossible. No human machine could send a signal that strong across such distance. The message had crossed over 2 million light-years and still arrived perfectly clear. That meant only one thing. Whoever sent it was far more advanced than humanity. In Washington, Moscow, Beijing, and other capitals, emergency meetings began immediately. Military leaders demanded answers. Intelligence agencies blamed each other. Some believed it was a trick by a hidden nation. Others feared it was real. Then the second shock arrived. Deep space telescopes detected something massive moving at extreme speed near the edge of the Milky Way. At first, scientists thought it was a natural object, but the formation was too organized, too perfect. It was a fleet. Thousands of objects traveling together, each object larger than any human spaceship ever built. Panic spread through control rooms around the world. The message on screens changed again. The black background faded, replaced by a single figure. The creature was tall and thin, its skin pale blue, its eyes glowing softly. It stood inside a dark chamber filled with strange symbols. When it spoke, its voice was calm, almost emotionless. Yet every word echoed with power. People of Earth, we are the citizens of Andromeda. Your expansion into deep space has been observed. Your species grows too fast. You consume too much. You will kneel before the Andromeda Dominion, or your world will be erased. Across Earth, fear turned into chaos. Stock markets crashed within minutes. Airports shut down. Some people prayed. Others rioted. Social media exploded with panic and conspiracy theories. But governments could not deny the evidence. The fleet was real. The signal was real. And it was getting closer. Dr. Varma gathered his team and ran new calculations. The alien fleet was not traveling at normal speed. It was using a form of propulsion humans did not understand. At its current velocity, it would reach the outer edge of the solar system in less than 3 days. 72 hours. That number quickly spread among world leaders. 72 hours to decide the future of humanity. In underground military bunkers, generals prepared defense plans. Nuclear weapons were placed on alert. Experimental space weapons, once kept secret, were activated. Hidden satellites powered up for the first time in years. But deep inside, many leaders feared it would not be enough. The alien technology was clearly superior. That fact was impossible to ignore. Meanwhile, ordinary people watched the sky. Telescopes, owned by universities and private citizens, confirmed the terrifying truth. Small bright lights were visible beyond Neptune's orbit. They were moving, slowly, but clearly moving toward Earth. The alien broadcast continued every hour, repeating the same message. Kneel, or be wiped from existence. No negotiation, no discussion, only surrender or destruction. In a small control room beneath the United Nations building, representatives from over 50 countries gathered. They argued about what kneeling meant. Would humanity become slaves? Would Earth be stripped of resources? Or would surrender at least save lives? No one had answers. But one thing was certain. The aliens did not see humans as equals. They saw them as a problem, as something that needed control. Back in space, one of Earth's deep surveillance probes suddenly went offline. It had been positioned far beyond Pluto. Its last transmission showed something enormous passing beside it, a shadow so large it blocked distant stars. The probe was crushed seconds later. The footage was replayed in silence by military commanders around the world. The alien ships were not just large. They were enormous, bigger than cities, built for war. As fear grew, something unexpected happened. Instead of surrendering immediately, many humans felt something else rising inside them. Not just fear, but anger. Humanity had survived wars, disasters, and near extinction before. It had fought against impossible odds many times. And now, a voice from another galaxy was demanding that Earth kneel. The final broadcast of the day appeared. The blue alien figure returned, its glowing eyes staring directly into the camera. You have 72 hours. When the time ends, your fate will be decided by your obedience. The screen went dark once more. In homes, in offices, in secret bases, people sat quietly, understanding that history had changed forever. Above them, in the silent darkness of space, the lights of the Andromeda fleet grew slightly brighter. And somewhere beyond the orbit of Neptune, something massive shifted direction and began moving faster toward Earth. The first clear image of the fleet arrived 12 hours after the signal. It came from a deep space telescope orbiting beyond Mars. The image was not blurry. It was not uncertain. It was sharp enough to remove all doubt. Thousands of ships moved in perfect formation. They were shaped like long spears, each one glowing with a faint blue light. Some were so large they could have carried entire cities inside them. Others were smaller, arranged like protective guards around the massive central vessels. The Andromeda fleet was no longer a distant threat. It was real, and it was coming closer. Across Earth, the image spread faster than any news in history. People stared at their screens in silence. Some cried. Some refused to believe it. Others whispered that this was the end. Governments stopped trying to calm the public. There were no comforting lies left to tell. In military command centers, officers studied the alien formation carefully. The ships were not scattered randomly. They were arranged with precision, like an army that had conquered many worlds before. Analysts noticed energy pulses moving between ships. The fleet was communicating constantly, coordinated, disciplined, prepared. At the Global Defense Council bunker, General Armin Hayes stood before leaders from 20 nations. A giant screen behind him displayed the alien fleet slowly crossing into the outer edge of the solar system. At their current speed, he said calmly, they will reach Neptune in less than 18 hours. The room felt heavy. No one interrupted him. We have activated all orbital defense systems, he continued. Project Sky Shield is now fully online. For years, Sky Shield had been a secret. Hundreds of hidden satellites armed with high-energy plasma cannons have been placed around Earth's orbit. They were designed for asteroid defense and possible future wars between nations. No one had imagined they would be used against an alien armada. At the same time, nuclear submarines across the oceans received coded orders. Space agencies unlocked classified projects. Experimental railguns on the moon powered up for the first time. Humanity was preparing for a war it did not understand. Then the alien fleet did something unexpected. One of the smaller ships broke formation and accelerated forward. It moved ahead of the others like a messenger. Within minutes, every screen on Earth turned black again. The blue alien figure reappeared. Its expression had not changed. Your primitive weapons are visible to us, it said in a calm voice. Your satellites, your nuclear stockpiles, your hidden bases. You cannot harm us. This is your final opportunity to kneel peacefully. In the bunker, leaders looked at one another. The aliens could see everything. That meant Earth had no element of surprise. Fear returned stronger than before. But General Hayes gave a silent order. High above Earth, one of the sky shield satellites rotated slowly. Its plasma core began to glow bright white. Scientists held their breath. The alien messenger ship was now near the orbit of Uranus. It moved confidently, without shields raised, as if it believed humans would not dare to attack. "Fire," Hayes said quietly. A beam of concentrated plasma shot through space at incredible speed. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the beam struck the alien ship directly. A flash of light exploded across the darkness. Cheers erupted inside the bunker. For one brief second, humanity believed it had landed the first blow. But when the light faded, the alien ship was still there. Its surface shimmered slightly, as if touched by rain. No damage, no smoke, no change in speed. The plasma beam had done nothing. Silence filled the room. Technicians checked the readings again and again, hoping for a mistake. There was none. The alien shield had absorbed the full power of the attack without effort. On screens worldwide, the blue figure spoke again. "You have demonstrated defiance. This is noted." The messenger ship did not fire back. It simply continued moving forward. But the main fleet behind it began to shift formation. Large vessels moved to the front. Energy readings spiked sharply. The Andromeda Dominion was preparing for war. On Earth, panic reached new levels. Some cities experienced blackouts as power grids overloaded from emergency defense systems. Religious leaders called for unity. Some political figures demanded immediate surrender to avoid extinction. Others argued that surrender would only delay destruction. In space, human probes sent back terrifying new data. The alien capital ships were generating energy levels far beyond any nuclear reaction. Their weapons, whatever form they took, were powerful enough to destroy planets. Dr. Elias Varma studied the numbers in disbelief. "They are not here to negotiate," he whispered. "They came prepared to erase us." As the hours passed, the alien fleet crossed Neptune's orbit. The sky above Earth looked normal to the human eye, peaceful and silent. But beyond the distant planets, an unstoppable force was moving closer. Military commanders made a difficult decision. They would not wait for Earth to be attacked directly. A second strike was ordered, this time from the moon. Hidden beneath the lunar surface, massive railguns aimed into deep space. These weapons were experimental and unstable. If they failed, they could destroy the moon itself. But there was no choice. The railguns fired. Solid tungsten rods accelerated to unimaginable speed, slicing through space toward the messenger ship. The impact was direct. This time, the alien ship reacted. Its shield flared brightly, glowing like a small star. The force pushed the vessel slightly off its path. For the first time, the Andromeda ship slowed down. In command centers across Earth, hope returned. The aliens were not completely untouchable. But hope lasted only seconds. The alien ship stabilized. Its surface began to glow brighter than before. A low-frequency pulse spread outward from it. Every satellite within thousands of miles shut down instantly. Communication systems flickered. Several defense stations in orbit exploded silently as their systems overloaded. The message was clear. The aliens had only used a fraction of their power, and they were growing impatient. The fleet behind the messenger ship accelerated again. The 72-hour timer continued counting down, and humanity realized something terrifying. The real battle had not even started yet. While fear spread across the world, a locked door opened deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. It was not listed on any public map. It did not officially exist. The facility had no name, only a code, Site Aegis. For 30 years, it had operated in silence. Even most world leaders did not know its full purpose. But now, with the Andromeda fleet crossing deeper into the solar system, the final protocol was activated. Inside a vast underground chamber rested a ship unlike anything humanity had ever revealed. It was long, dark, and shaped like a blade. Its surface was smooth, almost liquid in appearance, built from experimental alloys designed to absorb and redirect energy. Engineers and scientists moved quickly around it, their faces serious but focused. This was humanity's hidden answer. This was Project Revenant. General Armin Hayes arrived at the facility by secure transport. He walked along the metal platform overlooking the ship. "Status?" he asked. Dr. Elias Varma stood beside him, holding a tablet filled with streaming data. "Reactor stable. AI core active. Weapons charged to minimum levels. It's ready." Hayes nodded slowly. Revenant was not just another warship. It was built in secret after the first signals of possible extraterrestrial life were detected decades earlier. Back then, most leaders believed alien contact would be peaceful, but a few had prepared for something darker. Revenant was designed for one purpose: to fight an enemy more advanced than humanity. At the center of the ship was its most powerful component, an artificial intelligence known as Atlas. Unlike normal military AI, Atlas was given limited independent decision-making ability. It could adapt in battle. It could learn. Some scientists had feared giving it that much control. But now, there was no other choice. Hayes entered the command deck. The interior was simple but advanced. No flashing lights. No dramatic displays. Just clean interfaces and a wide forward screen showing space beyond Earth. Captain Lena Rao stood waiting. She had trained for years without knowing if this day would ever come. She saluted. "Sir, crew ready." Hayes looked at her carefully. "You understand this mission may not have a return?" She met his eyes without fear. "Yes, sir." Around them, a small crew of elite officers prepared their stations. Revenant was not built for comfort. It was built for survival and speed. Its reactor hummed softly as power increased. Above ground, the alien fleet had passed Uranus. The messenger ship still moved ahead of the main force. It had not attacked again, but its presence alone felt like a threat hanging over Earth. In orbit, damaged satellites drifted lifelessly after the alien pulse. Humanity's defenses had taken their first serious hit. Down in Site Aegis, the final launch sequence began. Massive blast doors above the facility slowly opened, revealing the sky. Revenant rose vertically on silent anti-gravity drives. It did not roar like old rockets. It lifted smoothly, almost gently, into the air before accelerating toward space at incredible speed. Radar stations worldwide detected the launch but kept it classified. Civilians were not told. This was Earth's hidden blade, and it would strike quietly. As Revenant left the atmosphere, Captain Rao felt the weight of the mission settle on her. She activated the main display. The alien messenger ship appeared as a distant, glowing point beyond Saturn's orbit. Alice spoke for the first time, its voice calm and neutral. Course calculated. Intercept possible in 4 hours and 12 minutes. Rao nodded. Set course. Full acceleration. The ship surged forward, faster than any human vessel in history. Revenant used a new propulsion system based on gravity manipulation. It bent space slightly around itself, reducing travel time. It was not as advanced as alien technology, but it was humanity's best achievement. Inside the alien fleet, sensors detected something unusual. A small object moving at extreme speed from Earth's direction. The messenger ship adjusted slightly, scanning the approaching signal. Unknown craft detected, reported an alien officer within their command vessel. The blue-skinned commander watched the display with mild interest. "Primitive response," he said calmly. "Allow it to approach." Back aboard Revenant, tension filled the bridge. The alien ship grew larger on the screen. It was even more intimidating up close. Its surface shimmered with energy fields, and strange symbols glowed along its hull. Captain Rao tightened her grip on the command chair. "Weapon status? Rail cannons ready. Plasma lances charging. Experimental phase disruptor online," replied the weapons officer. Atlas interrupted softly. "Probability of victory, 23%. The crew remained silent. Rao gave a small nod. "That's higher than 0. Revenant closed the distance rapidly. For the first time, humanity was not hiding behind planetary defenses. It was meeting the enemy in open space. The alien messenger ship transmitted a signal. It was not the global broadcast this time. It was direct, aimed only at Revenant. The blue alien figure appeared on the main screen. "You approach alone," it observed. "You display courage. It will not save you." Rao leaned forward. "Earth does not kneel." The alien's glowing eyes narrowed slightly. "Then Earth will burn." The transmission ended. Instantly, the alien ship's energy level spiked. Shields brightened. Weapon ports opened along its surface. Revenant's alarms sounded. "Incoming targeting locks," Atlas warned. Rao did not hesitate. "Fire all forward weapons." Bright beams of plasma shot from Revenant's hull. Rail cannon rounds followed at near light speed. They slammed against the alien shield in a violent explosion of light. This time, the shield flickered longer than before. Energy readings on the alien vessel fluctuated slightly. On the bridge, hope sparked. "Direct hit confirmed," the weapons officer shouted. But the alien ship responded immediately. A single beam of concentrated energy fired from its center. It struck Revenant's side with brutal force. The ship shook violently. Systems flickered. Warning lights flashed red. "Hull integrity at 87%, Atlas reported calmly. Captain Rao steadied herself as the crew fought to maintain control. They had landed the first real strike against Andromeda, and they had survived the first counterattack. The battle had officially begun. Far behind them, the massive Andromeda fleet adjusted formation. The blue commander watched the fight carefully. His voice was colder now. "So humanity chooses resistance." He turned to his officers. "Prepare the fleet. We will show them the cost of defiance." And in the dark silence between Saturn and Jupiter, the lone human warship and the alien messenger vessel continued exchanging fire, each blast lighting up space like a distant star being born. Space between Saturn and Jupiter burned with flashes of light as the battle grew more violent. The human warship Revenant moved sharply to the left, barely avoiding another beam from the alien messenger vessel. The beam cut through empty space and continued for thousands of miles before fading. If it had hit directly, Revenant would have been split in half. On the bridge, Captain Lena Rao kept her voice steady. "Status." Alice responded instantly. "Forward shields at 64%. Port side, hull damage minimal. Enemy shield stability reduced by 9% after last volley." 9%. It was not much, but it was something. Humanity had never damaged alien technology before. Now, they had proof it was possible. "Charge phase disruptor," Rao ordered. Deep inside Revenant, a new weapon powered up. It was unstable and had never been tested in real combat. Scientists believed it could interfere with energy fields by disrupting their frequency. It might weaken the alien shield long enough for a real strike, or it might explode inside their own ship. There was no time for fear. The alien messenger ship moved with unnatural grace. It did not use visible thrusters. It simply shifted position, as if space itself abated. Its surface glowed brighter with each passing second. It was studying Revenant, learning its patterns. Inside the alien vessel, the blue-skinned commander watched calmly. "The humans adapt quickly," one of his officers said. "Their weapon frequencies are shifting." The commander nodded slightly. "They are more advanced than projections suggested. Increase output to 30%. End this engagement." Back on Revenant, alarms screamed again. "Energy surge detected," Atlas warned. "Enemy weapon charge increasing rapidly." Rao did not hesitate. Full evasive pattern delta. Fire rail cannons continuously. Revenant twisted sharply, its gravity drives bending space around it. Tungsten rounds fired in rapid succession, striking the alien shield again and again. Each impact created bright ripples across the messenger ship's surface. The shield flickered more violently now. For the first time, small cracks of light appeared across it. "Shield integrity dropping," the weapons officer shouted. "It's working." Rao felt hope rise, but only for a second. The alien ship released its charged attack. A wide beam of blue-white energy exploded outward, sweeping across space like a wave. Revenant tried to outrun it, but the edge of the beam clipped its stern. The ship shook violently. Lights went out across half the bridge. Several crew members were thrown from their seats. Engine output down to 50%, Atlas reported, still calm. Smoke filled parts of the corridor outside the bridge. Emergency systems activated instantly. Despite the damage, Revenant remained operational. Rao forced herself back in her seat. Phase disruptor ready? Ready, Atlas confirmed. Probability of shield collapse, 41%. Higher than before. Rao gave a command. A pulse of distorted energy shot from Revenant's core weapon. Unlike plasma or rail rounds, this pulse was invisible to the human eye. It struck the alien shield silently. For a brief moment, nothing happened. Then the alien shield began to flicker wildly. The glowing surface dimmed and brightened unpredictably. On the alien bridge, warning signals appeared. Shield frequency destabilized, an officer reported. The blue commander's calm expression hardened slightly. So they possessed disruption technology. On Revenant, the weapons officer saw the opportunity. Captain, shield is unstable. Rao did not wait. All weapons, concentrate fire on one point. Plasma beams and rail rounds slammed into the same exact location on the alien hull. The weakened shield shattered like breaking glass. A direct hit struck the alien vessel's outer armor. For the first time, part of the Andromeda ship exploded. A section of its surface tore away, exposing internal structures glowing with strange light. Cheers erupted across Revenant's bridge. Humanity had done it. They had pierced alien defenses. But victory did not come. Instead, something worse happened. The damaged alien ship suddenly stopped retreating. Its internal energy readings spiked beyond anything seen before. Warning, Atlas said. Enemy reactor output increasing exponentially. Rao's heart sank. What were they doing? In the alien vessel, the commander stood from his seat. The humans require demonstration, he said coldly. Authorized planetary example. One of his officers hesitated. Commander, the main fleet has not yet arrived. This will accelerate surrender, he replied. Back on Revenant, sensors picked up a new target lock, but it was not aimed at them. It was aimed past them, toward Earth. They are targeting the planet, Atlas announced. Silence filled the bridge. The alien ship, even damaged, still possessed unimaginable power. Its weapon began charging again, this time far stronger than before. If it fired at Earth from this distance, the result would be catastrophic. Rao's mind raced. Revenant was damaged. Engines weakened. Shields unstable. But there was only one option. Set collision course, she said quietly. The crew stared at her. Captain, if we cannot stop the beam, she continued, we block it. Atlas calculated instantly. Impact survival probability. Less than 2%. Rao nodded. Understood. Revenant accelerated forward, heading directly toward the alien messenger ship. Plasma and rail fire continued as cover. The alien vessel ignored the attacks, focusing on charging its main weapon. The glowing core at its center grew brighter and brighter. Back on Earth, telescopes detected the terrifying energy buildup. World leaders watched in horror as calculations showed the possible impact zone. Entire continents were at risk. Humanity had less than minutes. In deep space, Revenant pushed its engines beyond safe limits. Metal groaned under the stress. Crew members held onto their stations as the ship shook violently. Distance closing, Atlas reported. 30 seconds to intercept. The alien commander noticed too late. They intend physical impact, an officer warned. The blue commander's eyes narrowed. Primitive desperation. But even he understood the risk. If Revenant collided during weapon discharge, the resulting explosion could damage more than expected. Divert power to shields, he ordered sharply. The alien weapon reached full charge. At that exact moment, Revenant slammed into the alien vessel's weakened section. The collision created a blinding flash of light. The alien beam fired, but its aim shifted wildly due to the impact. Instead of striking Earth directly, it shot off into empty space, carving a glowing scar across the darkness. The explosion from the collision expanded outward in a massive shockwave. Both ships were swallowed by fire and debris. On Earth, Observers saw the distant flash near Saturn's orbit. Then silence. Communication with Revenant was lost. The alien messenger ship's signal disappeared as well. No one knew who had survived. But one thing was certain. Humanity had refused to kneel, and the Andromeda fleet had just witnessed the cost of underestimating Earth. The explosion near Saturn was seen across every major observatory on Earth. For a few seconds, the flash was brighter than the planet itself. Then it faded, leaving only drifting debris and broken signals. In control rooms around the world, people waited for communication to return. They called out to Revenant again and again. There was no answer. The alien messenger ship's signal was gone as well. It had vanished from sensors completely. No movement, no energy readings, just silence. On Earth, the reaction was mixed. Some believed Revenant had sacrificed itself and destroyed the alien vessel. Others feared both ships had survived and were simply regrouping. General Armin Hayes stood inside the Global Defense Council bunker, staring at the main display. "Scan everything," he ordered. "I want confirmation." Deep space probes focused on the debris field. Pieces of metal drifted slowly in the darkness. Some fragments matched the design of Revenant. Others were clearly alien, glowing faintly with unfamiliar energy patterns. Dr. Elias Varma studied the data carefully. "We have confirmed structural fragments from the messenger's ship," he said quietly. "It suffered catastrophic damage." A small wave of relief moved through the bunker. Humanity had not only survived, it had destroyed its first alien warship. But the relief did not last long. A new signal appeared on the screen. The main Andromeda fleet had changed formation. The massive ships that once moved in clean, organized lines were now spreading out. Their speed increased sharply. The destruction of the messenger ship had not scared them. It had angered them. Far beyond the debris field, inside the largest vessel of the fleet, the blue-skinned commander watched the battle data replay. The loss of the messenger ship was unexpected, but not devastating. What concerned him more was humanity's willingness to sacrifice a capital-class vessel to protect their planet. "They value survival over logic," one alien officer observed. The commander's glowing eyes dimmed slightly. "They value defiance," he corrected, "and defiance spreads." He turned to the holographic projection of Earth rotating slowly in front of him. "Prepare planetary suppression strategy." Back on Earth, governments struggled to control public reaction. News channels replayed the distant explosion over and over. For the first time, humans had struck back successfully. Social media filled with messages praising the crew of Revenant. They were already being called heroes. But scientists warned that the real threat was still coming. The main fleet was far larger and far more powerful than the messenger ship had been. In a secured lab beneath the European Space Agency headquarters, researchers examined the alien debris collected by long-range drones. The fragments were unlike any material known to human science. They seemed partially organic and partially mechanical, as if grown rather than built. Strange symbols glowed across the surfaces even after separation from the main ship. Dr. Varma stared at one fragment inside a containment field. "Their technology is integrated with their biology," he whispered. "This is not just machinery. It's part of them." Meanwhile, new data from telescopes revealed something alarming. The alien fleet was not slowing down to prepare another warning. It was accelerating directly toward Earth. At their current speed, they would reach Mars' orbit in less than 20 hours. There would be no second 72-hour deadline. No more offers to kneel peacefully. The Andromeda Dominion had decided. Earth would be made an example. In underground bunkers, military commanders prepared for full planetary defense. Nuclear arsenals were repositioned for orbital launch. Sky Shield satellites, though damaged by the earlier alien pulse, were partially restored. Moon-based railguns were reloaded. Humanity's entire defense network was now active. General Hayes addressed a global broadcast. His face appeared on every functioning screen. "People of Earth," he said firmly, "we have proven that the enemy can be damaged. We have proven they are not invincible. The fleet approaching us is powerful, but we will not surrender. We fight for our survival. Across cities and villages, people listened carefully. Fear was still there, but something else had joined it. Pride. Revenant's sacrifice had changed the emotional balance of the planet. Humanity no longer felt helpless. In deep space, however, the Andromeda fleet revealed its true scale. As it passed the orbit of Jupiter, its full size became visible. Thousands of warships surrounded several massive central carriers. Each carrier was so large it could eclipse entire moons. Energy readings from these ships were far greater than the messenger vessel had ever shown. On the alien flagship, the Blue Commander studied Earth's defensive network. Their planetary weapons are primitive but numerous, an officer reported. Estimated resistance time, minimal. The commander nodded. Deploy the Harbingers. From beneath the massive carriers, smaller but heavily armed ships detached and moved forward. Unlike the sleek messenger vessel, these ships were thick and heavily armored. They were built for direct assault. Back on Earth, sensors detected the change immediately. Dr. Varma felt his stomach tighten as he watched the readings climb. These ships are different, he said. They're not scouts. They are destroyers. As the fleet approached Mars' orbit, something unexpected happened. A faint signal emerged from within the debris field near Saturn. It was weak, unstable, but clearly human. Inside the bunker, technicians quickly amplified it. Static filled the room. Then a familiar voice broke through. "This is Captain Rao of the Revenant." Gasps spread across the chamber. "Hey, step forward." "Captain, report." Her voice was strained but alive. "We are damaged, engines offline, drifting inside debris field. Alien messenger ship destroyed." "Repeat, messenger ship destroyed." Cheers erupted again, louder this time. Revenant had survived. Barely, but it had survived. Rao continued. "We intercepted partial data before impact. The Andromeda fleet is not just here to conquer Earth. They are sending a message to other galaxies. They fear expansion species." Silence fell as her words sank in. Dr. Varma understood immediately. "They're not attacking us because we are weak," he said slowly. "They are attacking because we are growing." Captain Rao's final words before the signal cut were simple. They believe humanity will become a threat. The transmission ended abruptly. In the alien flagship, the Blue Commander received confirmation of the messenger ship's total destruction. His expression remained cold. "So the humans survived their own sacrifice," he said quietly. "Interesting." He turned once more to the image of Earth. "Then we shall remove their future entirely." As the Andromeda fleet crossed Mars' orbit and continued toward the inner solar system, humanity realized the truth. This war was not about punishment. It was about prevention. The Andromeda Dominion did not want Earth to kneel. They wanted humanity erased before it could rise any higher. And now, there would be no more warnings. The Andromeda fleet crossed Mars' orbit without slowing down. From Earth, the red planet looked peaceful in the night sky, but beyond it, thousands of alien warships moved like a dark storm. Their formation was no longer defensive. It was aggressive. The massive carrier ships stayed in the center while the heavy assault vessels, called Harbingers, spread outward in a wide arc. They were preparing to surround Earth. Inside the Global Defense Council bunker, the countdown clock reached 0. The original 72 hours were over. There would be no surrender message from humanity, and there would be no mercy from Andromeda. General Armin Hayes stood before the command screen. "All defense systems active." "Yes, sir," replied the operations officer. "Sky Shield satellites at 70% capacity. Lunar railguns online. Nuclear orbital platforms armed." Hayes gave a slow nod. "Then we hold." Across the planet, air raid sirens began to sound. Not because the enemy had reached the atmosphere yet, but because the battle in space was about to begin. Civilians were moved into underground shelters. Power grids were redirected to military systems. For the first time in history, every nation on Earth operated as one force. In deep space, the first Harbinger ships reached the outer defensive line near Jupiter. Without warning, they opened fire. Long streams of blue-white energy shot toward human listening posts and long-range satellites. Explosions flashed like tiny stars as defense stations were destroyed one by one. Humanity answered immediately. Lunar railguns fired from the surface of the moon. Massive tungsten rods accelerated into space at extreme speed, striking the front line of alien ships. Several harbingers were hit directly. Their armor cracked under the impact, and one ship exploded in a bright flash. Cheers rose in command centers worldwide. But the celebration was short. The alien fleet adjusted formation smoothly, as if expecting resistance. Energy shields strengthened across their hulls. Then the carriers moved closer. As they approached the orbit of Earth, the size of the ships became terrifying. They were larger than some cities. Their shadows blocked starlight. On the alien flagship, the Blue Commander watched the human resistance calmly. "They fight with unity," one officer observed. "It will not save them." The commander nodded. "Begin planetary suppression." "Back on Earth," warning alarm screamed. "Multiple high-energy signatures detected," a technician shouted. From the front line of the alien fleet, hundreds of smaller strike craft launched at once. They moved faster than any human fighter. Within minutes, they reached Earth's orbit. Sky Shield satellites opened fire, releasing continuous beams of plasma. Several alien strike craft were destroyed, but many slipped through the defensive net. One alien cruiser locked onto a target on Earth's surface. A beam of concentrated energy fired downward. The ocean below boiled instantly as the beam struck, sending massive waves across the coastline. Coastal cities shook as shock waves reached land. Panic spread, but military communication remained steady. "Return fire," Hayes ordered. Nuclear orbital platforms launched missiles into space. Bright trails crossed the sky as warheads detonated near alien ships. Some explosions forced the harbingers to retreat slightly, but their shields absorbed most of the damage. In space, debris and fire filled Earth's orbit. Human fighters launched from hidden bases, engaging alien strike craft in close combat. Missiles and lasers flashed in every direction. The battle was no longer distant. It was above Earth's atmosphere. Then something worse happened. One of the massive alien carriers began charging a central weapon. Energy gathered at its core, brighter than anything seen before. Dr. Elias Varma stared at the readings in horror. "That energy output, it's not targeting a city." "What is it targeting?" Hayes demanded. Varma swallowed. "The moon." Before anyone could respond, the carrier fired. A colossal beam shot across space and struck the moon's surface. The impact was silent from Earth, but telescopes captured the terrifying moment. A massive explosion erupted across the lunar surface. A deep crack spread like a wound across the moon's crust. For a few seconds, nothing else happened. Then fragments of rock broke free, drifting into space. On Earth, people looked up at the sky in disbelief. The moon, humanity's oldest companion, now carried a glowing scar across its face. Tidal systems shifted immediately. Ocean levels reacted. Scientists realized the attack was not just symbolic. It was a warning of what could happen to Earth itself. In the bunker, silence filled the room. Hayes clenched his fists. "They want to break our spirit." Varma nodded slowly. "They are showing us that they can destroy our world whenever they choose." But instead of collapsing into fear, something unexpected spread across humanity. Anger. The attack on the moon felt personal. It was not just a military strike. It was an insult to everything humans had built. Across the globe, more defense systems came online. Secret asteroid mining stations revealed hidden missile arrays. Experimental drones launched from beneath the ocean's surface, flying into orbit to join the fight. Humanity was throwing everything it had into the battle. In space, the harbingers pushed closer, but their advance slowed under the constant barrage. Several more alien ships were damaged. Even massive carriers had to divert power to shields instead of weapons. On the alien flagship, the Blue Commander observed carefully. "Their resistance grows stronger," an officer reported. The commander's glowing eyes dimmed slightly. "Then we escalate." He gave a final order. "Prepare the Oblivion Protocol." Back on Earth, sensors detected a new energy signature forming within the center of the fleet. It was larger than anything before, larger than the weapon that had struck the moon. Dr. Varma's face turned pale. "General, this energy buildup is planetary scale." Hayes understood immediately. They are not targeting the moon this time. On screens around the world, people saw the alien fleet shifting position, aligning directly with Earth. The cracked moon hung in the sky above them, a silent reminder of alien power. And deep in space, the Andromeda fleet began charging a weapon that could end human history in a single strike. The energy building inside the center of the Andromeda fleet grew brighter with every passing second. From Earth, it looked like a new star was being born between the alien ships. Scientists across the planet confirmed the same terrifying truth. The weapon forming in deep space was strong enough to destroy Earth completely. Not damage it, not weaken it, destroy it. Inside the Global Defense Council bunker, no one spoke for several long moments. The cracked surface of the moon was still visible on the large screen, glowing faintly where it had been struck. General Armin Hayes finally broke the silence. Time estimate. Dr. Elias Varma's fingers moved quickly over his tablet. At current charge rate, less than 40 minutes. 40 minutes. That was all humanity had left before possible extinction. Around the world, emergency broadcasts informed civilians to remain in shelters. Some cried, some prayed, some held their families tightly. But something else was happening too. Across every country, soldiers, engineers, pilots, and scientists volunteered for final operations. Humanity had seen the moon wounded. They had watched cities shake, and yet they had not surrendered. They would not surrender now. In orbit, the remaining Sky Shield satellites regrouped into a tighter defensive ring. Lunar railguns, though damaged from the earlier strike, were recalibrated for one final barrage. Nuclear submarines received classified codes. Hidden defense platforms buried beneath Antarctic ice powered on for the first time. Every secret weapon humanity possessed was about to be used. Far beyond Earth, inside the drifting debris field near Saturn, Captain Lena Rao stood on the dimly lit bridge of the damaged Revenant. Half the systems were offline. Emergency lights flickered along the walls. Several crew members were injured but alive. They had survived the collision, but the ship could barely move. Alice spoke softly. Long-range sensors confirm planetary-scale energy buildup near Earth. Rao closed her eyes for a brief moment. "Can we make it back?" Engine functionality at 23%. Estimated arrival time exceeds enemy firing window. They were too far away. Revenant could not return in time. Rao looked at the main screen, where a distant image of Earth rotated slowly. "Then we hit them from here," she said quietly. Alice processed the idea instantly. Remaining reactor capacity sufficient for one high-output phase disruptor pulse. It would be a long-range shot, unstable and inaccurate, but it might interrupt the alien weapon charge, even for a few seconds. Back near Earth, the Andromeda fleet completed its alignment. The massive carriers formed a circular pattern, channeling their combined energy into the central core. The glow intensified, lighting up the darkness like a small sun. On the alien flagship, the Blue Commander watched the final preparations. "Human resistance remains active," an officer reported. "They deploy additional weapons." The commander's expression remained cold. Their defiance ends today. Suddenly, a faint energy spike appeared far behind the fleet, near Saturn. An alien officer turned in surprise. Unidentified discharge detected. Before they could react, a distorted pulse of energy shot across space from the distant debris field. It struck the outer edge of the charging formation. The phase disruptor wave rippled across several carrier ships. For a brief moment, the glowing core flickered. On Earth, Dr. Varma saw the fluctuation instantly. "Energy stability dropping," he shouted. Something interfered with the charge. Hayes understood. "Revenant," he whispered. In deep space, Revenant's reactor burned out completely after the pulse. Systems shut down one by one. The ship went dark, drifting silently. On the bridge, Rao felt the lights fade. "Did it work?" she asked. Atlas's voice grew weaker. "Charge delay estimated at 4 minutes." For minutes. It was not much, but it was enough for humanity to act. Hayes turned to his officers. "All forces attack now. Every weapon." From the moon, railguns fired continuously, targeting the same carriers destabilized by Revenant's pulse. Nuclear missiles launched in coordinated waves from orbit and from hidden stations across Earth. Experimental plasma arrays beneath the ocean surface fired upward through the atmosphere. The sky above Earth filled with streaks of light as humanity unleashed everything it had. In space, explosions erupted across the Andromeda Formation. Several carriers were struck directly. One Harbinger ship shattered under repeated impacts. The central glowing core flickered again as energy flows became unstable. On the alien flagship, warning alarms echoed. "Energy matrix destabilizing," an officer reported urgently. The Blue Commander's calm expression finally cracked slightly. "Divert power to shield grid. Stabilize the core." But humanity did not stop. Wave after wave of attacks slammed into the fleet. For the first time, alien ships began retreating slightly to avoid concentrated fire. The combined assault disrupted the perfect formation required for the Oblivion Protocol. Back on Earth, people in shelters felt the ground tremble as shockwaves from distant orbital explosions echoed faintly through the atmosphere. News feeds showed images of alien ships burning in orbit. Humanity was still standing. The alien weapons' glow dimmed significantly. Dr. Varma stared at the readings. "The charge is collapsing." A final massive explosion burst from the center of the alien formation as unstable energy discharged harmlessly into empty space. The planetary killer weapon had failed. Cheers, tears, and shouts filled command centers worldwide. Humanity had stopped extinction, at least for now. On the alien flagship, the Blue Commander stood in silence. Several ships were damaged. The Oblivion Protocol had been interrupted. He looked at Earth again, this time with a different expression. Not anger, not calm superiority, something closer to recognition. "They fight beyond logic," he said quietly. "They sacrifice beyond reason." He turned to his officers. "Prepare the forbidden measure." Back near Saturn, the silent hull of Revenant drifted among broken fragments of alien metal. Its crew waited in darkness, unaware that their desperate long-range strike had saved Earth for the second time. And near Earth, though the immediate destruction had been prevented, the Andromeda fleet was far from defeated. Instead of retreating, the massive ships began repositioning once more. Humanity had proven it would not kneel. Now the enemy was preparing something even worse. The battlefield around Earth burned with drifting debris and fading explosions, but the Andromeda fleet did not retreat. Instead, their massive ships pulled back into a wider formation. They were not fleeing. They were preparing. Inside the alien flagship, the Blue Commander stood before a tall column of glowing symbols. His officers waited in silence. "Human resistance exceeds prediction," one of them said carefully. "Losses increasing." The commander's glowing eyes remained fixed on the image of Earth. "Then we remove their will," he replied. "Initiate the forbidden measure." Across the alien fleet, a new signal spread instantly. Several carriers opened along their lower hulls. From inside them, something ancient began to emerge. These ships were darker than the others, covered in heavy armor plates and strange rotating rings. They did not glow brightly like the rest of the fleet. They absorbed light as if space itself bent around them. On Earth, long-range scanners picked up the change. Dr. Elias Varma frowned at the readings. "These energy signatures, they're different, not like standard weapons." General Armin Hayes leaned forward. "Different how?" Varma swallowed slowly. "They're not charging a beam. They're creating gravitational distortion." The room fell silent. Gravitational weapons were something humanity had only theorized about. If controlled properly, they could crush planets without a single explosion. In orbit, damaged satellites struggled to maintain position as strange waves of force rolled outward from the alien fleet. Oceans on Earth reacted slightly. Tidal systems shifted unpredictably. The planet itself seemed to tremble. "They're trying to tear us apart from the inside," Varma whispered. High above Earth, one of the dark alien ships activated fully. Its rotating rings began spinning faster and faster. Space around it twisted visibly. Even distant stars appeared distorted. The effect was terrifying. In shelters across the world, people felt light shaking beneath their feet. Buildings vibrated softly. Panic threatened to rise again, but emergency broadcasts urged calm. Humanity had stopped extinction once already. They would try again. In deep space near Saturn, emergency power flickered back on inside the Revenant. Captain Lena Rao opened her eyes as dim red lights returned to the bridge. Atlas's voice returned, weak but stable. Minimal systems restored. Long-range sensors active. Rao forced herself to stand. Report. Alien fleet deploying gravitational weapons near Earth. Estimated planetary structural failure within 1 hour, if uninterrupted. Rao looked at the damaged reactor display. Can we fire again? Negative. Phase disruptor offline. Reactor core exhausted. She stared at the debris field outside the viewport. Broken alien fragments drifted slowly around them. Then an idea formed. Atlas, those alien fragments. Can we use them? There was a brief pause as the AI processed the concept. Fragments contain residual energy cells. Integration with Revenant systems possible, but unstable. Rao nodded. Unstable is better than nothing. Back near Earth, the dark alien ships moved into a triangular formation around the planet. Their rotating rings aligned perfectly. The gravitational distortion increased. Small meteorites in nearby space were crushed into dust by invisible force. On Earth, earthquakes began to spread across multiple continents. Not massive yet, but growing. Scientists calculated the terrifying outcome. If the alien ships synchronized fully, they could trigger global tectonic collapse. The planet's crust would fracture. Humanity would not survive. Hayes gave immediate orders. All remaining weapons target those dark ships. Lunar railguns fired again. Nuclear missiles streaked into orbit. Human fighters swarmed desperately. But the dark ships were protected by powerful shields and layers of armor. Several missiles exploded harmlessly against them. The gravitational pull around the ships made accurate targeting difficult. Inside the alien flagship, the Blue Commander watched calmly. Their weapons cannot reach the core stabilizers, an officer reported. Planetary collapse in 43 minutes. The commander nodded. Humanity will end not in fire, but in silence. Back near Saturn, Revenant's crew worked quickly. Robotic arms extended from the damaged hull, capturing alien debris. Engineers rerouted broken circuits. Atlas calculated continuously. Energy cell integration at 30%, it reported. Risk of internal overload, high. Rao did not hesitate. We don't need long. Just one shot. The makeshift system began to glow faintly as alien power cells connected to human circuits. Sparks flew inside engineering compartments. Crew members ignored burns and cuts as they forced unstable technology to cooperate. Near Earth, the gravitational distortion grew stronger. Skyscrapers swayed. Oceans surged unpredictably. Satellites fell out of orbit. Around the world, people held onto anything stable as the planet groaned under invisible pressure. Dr. Varma stared at the numbers in horror. Structural failure threshold approaching. Hayes felt helpless for the first time. Humanity's strongest weapons were not enough. The dark ships continued spinning, their rings moving faster, bending space like twisted glass. Then a faint signal appeared again from deep space. Weak, unstable, but familiar. Incoming transmission from Revenant, a technician shouted. Hayes stepped forward quickly. Rao's voice filled the bunker. General, we're sending a gift. Before he could respond, the transmission ended. In the debris field, Revenant's stolen alien power cells overloaded at once. Atlas calculated the trajectory with perfect precision. Target locked. Central Gravitational Stabilizer. Rout gave the final command. Fire. A chaotic beam of mixed human and alien energy burst from Revenant's damaged hull. It was unstable, flickering wildly, barely contained. The beam crossed space at extreme speed and struck one of the dark ships directly at its rotating ring. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ring shattered. The gravitational field around that ship collapsed instantly. The sudden imbalance disrupted the entire triangular formation. On Earth, the shaking stopped abruptly. Oceans calmed. Buildings steadied. In space, one of the dark ships imploded under its own uncontrolled gravity. The other two vessels spun out of alignment, their synchronization broken. Cheers erupted worldwide. Humanity had interrupted extinction again. But the victory came with a cost. Inside Revenant, the overloaded reactor finally failed. The ship lost all power completely. Rao and her crew were thrown into darkness once more. Near Earth, though the gravitational collapse had been stopped, two dark alien ships remained operational. They began retreating toward the main fleet for protection. On the alien flagship, the Blue Commander stared at the destruction of one of his forbidden measure vessels. His expression was no longer calm. They adapt faster than any recorded species, he said quietly. He turned to his officers. Prepare direct assault on planetary surface. The Andromeda fleet was done with distant destruction. If Earth would not break from above, they would invade it directly. And as alien dropships began detaching from the carriers, humanity realized the war was about to move from space to the ground. The Andromeda fleet began launching dropships toward Earth's atmosphere. Hundreds of small invasion craft separated from the massive carriers like dark seeds falling from the sky. They burned brightly as they entered the upper atmosphere, surrounded by heat and plasma fire. Their shields protected them from most of the friction damage as they descended rapidly toward Earth's surface. This was no longer just a space war. This was invasion. Inside the Global Defense Council bunker, alarms rang continuously. Multiple landing signatures detected, a technician shouted. They are targeting major population zones. General Armin Hayes stared at the tactical map. Red markers appeared across continents. North America, Asia, Europe, Africa. The alien dropships were spreading like a hunting pack. Activate ground defense systems, Hayes ordered. All civilian shelters sealed. Military units mobilize immediately. Across Earth, cities went into emergency lockdown. Bridges closed. Transportation systems shut down automatically. Armored vehicles moved through streets, helping evacuate remaining civilians. People watched the sky with fear as burning alien ships crossed the clouds like falling stars of death. In Beijing, New York, Karachi, London, and other cities, air defense batteries opened fire. Missiles and laser cannons targeted incoming dropships. Several alien craft were destroyed mid-air, exploding into bright fireballs. But many survived. Their armor was extremely durable. The surviving dropships landed violently across strategic locations. The ground shook as alien landing legs smashed into Earth's surface. Dust clouds rose high into the air. Then the invasion began. The dropships opened slowly, releasing alien soldiers. The creatures that emerged were tall and thin like their commanders, but heavily armored. Their suits glowed faintly blue, and they carried energy weapons that fired silent but deadly beams of light. In one large coastal city, human soldiers engaged alien invaders immediately. Gunfire echoed through streets as tanks moved forward. Humans had the advantage of numbers and familiarity with terrain, but the aliens had superior technology. One alien soldier raised its weapon. A silent beam cut through two armored vehicles instantly. The battle was brutal and fast. Civilians ran for underground shelters while soldiers tried to hold defensive lines. In the skies above, more dropships continued arriving. The Andromeda Dominion was not invading randomly. They were targeting power centers, military command zones, and major population hubs. Back in space, the alien flagship monitored the invasion progress. The Blue Commander watched Earth's surface battles through satellite feeds. Planetary resistance remained strong, an officer reported. The commander remained calm. Ground warfare will break their morale. Meanwhile, deep inside Earth's atmosphere, something unexpected was happening. The remains of Revenant's crew had not been forgotten. The damaged warship was still drifting near Saturn, but Atlas had activated emergency backup systems. The AI had found a way to keep communication channels open using unstable quantum relays. Captain Lena Rao's voice suddenly reached Earth's command network again. "This is Revenant Command. Do you read?" Hayes immediately responded. "Captain Rao. Status." Rao's voice was weak but determined. "Ship destroyed. Crew alive. We are unable to return. But we have data." She paused. "The alien invasion force is not their main army." Hayes felt cold fear. "Explain." "The dropships are only the first wave," Rao said. "The main fleet is preparing planetary bombardment from orbit. They're testing your defenses before destroying large cities at once." In the bunker, silence filled the room. Humanity was fighting a distraction force. The real destruction had not even begun. Back in space, the remaining Andromeda carriers began charging orbital bombardment weapons. Massive cannons extended from the hulls of the ships. These weapons were designed to fire from space directly into planetary surfaces with devastating precision. One of the alien officers spoke. "Commander, bombardment readiness at 90%. The Blue Commander nodded. "Begin cleansing operation." At that exact moment, Earth's remaining orbital defense platforms fired everything they had. Nuclear warheads, plasma arrays, and experimental particle weapons launched simultaneously toward the fleet. Space exploded with fire and energy. Several alien strike ships were destroyed instantly. One of the smaller carriers sustained serious damage, but the main carriers remained intact. Their shields were simply too strong. On Earth, ground battles continued raging. In desert regions, alien soldiers advanced toward military bases. In coastal regions, naval defense forces fired missiles toward incoming enemy ships landing near shorelines. The war was spreading everywhere at once. In one city, a young soldier looked up at the sky as alien ships filled the horizon. He whispered to himself, "We are not finished yet." Then he fired his weapon and ran forward with his unit. Humanity was fighting not just for survival, but for pride. Back in space, the alien fleet prepared its final strike. The largest carrier ship opened its central weapon chamber fully. Energy gathered at unimaginable levels. This was not just a weapon. It was a planet killer cannon designed to fire multiple shots across Earth's surface. Dr. Varma watched the energy readings. "They're going to fire across multiple continents at once." Hayes clenched his fists. "How much time?" "Less than 10 minutes. On the alien flagship, the Blue Commander spoke one final order. "Show them the meaning of absolute dominance." The orbital cannon fired. Multiple beams of concentrated destruction shot down toward Earth at once. But just before the beams reached the atmosphere, something incredible happened. Hundreds of civilian space communication satellites suddenly synchronized. Scientists across Earth had secretly uploaded emergency defensive code into civilian technology. The satellites overloaded themselves and created a temporary planetary energy shield. The orbital beams struck the shield and exploded in space above the atmosphere instead of hitting the surface. The sky lit up like a false sunrise. On Earth, people looked up in shock and relief. Humanity had survived another attack. The alien commander watched silently as his orbital strike failed. For the first time, he spoke not with confidence, but with respect. They refused to break. The invasion had not ended, but the balance of war had shifted. Earth was still standing, and humanity had proven something terrifying to the Andromeda Dominion. Humans did not just survive. They fought back, even when extinction was certain. And now, the final battle was approaching. The sky above Earth was filled with light. Not the light of sunrise or sunset, but the light of war. Explosions still flashed in the upper atmosphere as remnants of alien orbital strikes faded. The Andromeda fleet hung in space like a dark shadow over the planet. But something had changed. The aliens had expected Earth to collapse after the invasion began. Instead, humanity was still fighting. Inside the alien flagship, the Blue Commander stood in silence for several minutes. His officers waited, afraid to speak. The invasion had not gone as planned. Human resistance was stronger than predicted. Cities had not fallen completely. Ground forces were still fighting back. Even orbital bombardment had been partially stopped by human ingenuity. Finally, the commander spoke. "They are not ordinary prey," he said calmly. "They adapt, they learn, and they sacrifice everything." He turned to the tactical display, showing Earth rotating slowly below them. Begin final operation. On Earth, General Armin Hayes stood inside the Global Defense Council bunker, watching the tactical screens. The battlefield was chaotic, but one thing was clear. The alien fleet was preparing something bigger than anything before. Energy signatures increasing across all carriers. Dr. Elias Varma said urgently. "They are combining power sources." Hayes nodded slowly. "They are preparing to end this war in one strike." At that moment, a weak communication signal returned from deep space. "This is Captain Rao of Revenant," came the familiar voice. Everyone in the bunker listened closely. Rao's voice was stronger than before. "Humanity, listen carefully." She continued, "The Andromeda Dominion is not just a military empire. They are a species that destroys potential threats before they grow too strong." Hayes asked immediately, "What is their weakness?" There was a long silence before Rao answered. "Their fleet operates on shared energy synchronization. If you disrupt the central command carrier, the entire formation will collapse." Varma's eyes widened. "The flagship?" Rao confirmed, "Yes, but it will not be easy. They will defend it with everything they have." Hayes turned to his officers. "Launch all remaining fighters. Every ship, every drone. This is the final battle." Across Earth, humanity prepared for its last counterattack. Fighter jets launched from hidden underground air bases. Remaining space fighters that had survived earlier battles lifted from orbital stations. Civilian volunteers joined military crews. Some pilots were barely trained, but they were ready to die if it meant saving Earth. In space, the Andromeda fleet shifted formation for the final time. The massive central flagship moved to the front. Smaller ships formed protective rings around it. Energy built up across the entire fleet, connecting like a network of glowing veins across space. The Blue Commander spoke softly. "Begin planetary erasure." The flagship weapon activated fully. A gigantic sphere of destructive energy formed around the main cannon. If fired, it would destroy Earth's surface ecosystems completely. Oceans would boil. Atmosphere would burn away. Life would end. On Earth, people watched the sky in horror. Families held hands in shelters. Soldiers prepared their final charges. Then humanity launched its final assault. Human fighters flew toward the alien fleet in massive waves. Missiles streaked behind them. Nuclear warheads detonated in space, creating temporary cover from enemy fire. It was a suicide charge, but it was also humanity's best chance. Back near Saturn, Revenant's reactor finally powered on again using emergency backup systems. Rao smiled slightly. "Atlas, prepare final jump sequence." "Warning," Atlas responded. "Jump may destroy remaining ship structure." Rao nodded. "Do it anyway." Revenant activated its gravity drive and disappeared in a burst of distorted light. Seconds later, the damaged human warship reappeared directly behind the Andromeda flagship. Inside the alien command ship, alarms screamed. "Human warship behind us." Rao's voice came through every communication channel. "Earth does not kneel." She fired Revenant's final weapons simultaneously. Every remaining energy system discharged at once. Plasma lances, rail cannons, experimental distortion weapons, all fired directly into the flagship's rear shield. The shield cracked. Not fully, but enough. Human fighters across space focused fire on the same location. Missile after missile struck the damaged shield point. The Andromeda formation began destabilizing. The central energy synchronization network flickered. On the alien flagship, the Blue Commander watched silently as his defenses failed. They did it, he said quietly. They learned how to defeat us. The flagship weapon charge became unstable. Energy inside the sphere began collapsing inward. The commander gave his final order. Retreat. But it was too late. The flagship reactor overloaded. A massive explosion erupted at the center of the Andromeda fleet. The blast expanded outward, destroying dozens of surrounding alien ships. The energy synchronization network collapsed completely. One by one, the remaining carriers shut down or attempted emergency escape jumps. Humanity watched from Earth as alien ships disappeared from orbit. Silence fell across the planet. Then cheers erupted everywhere. People cried. Soldiers shouted in victory. The war was over. Hours later, the first alien message returned. It was from the Blue Commander. His voice was no longer threatening. Humans of Earth, he said, today, we failed to erase you. He paused. The Andromeda Dominion will not return soon. Your species has been marked as unpredictable. The transmission ended. On Earth, General Hayes stood in silence. Humanity had survived, not because it was stronger, not because it was more advanced, but because it refused to give up. In deep space, the surviving Andromeda fleet retreated slowly toward their home galaxy. And far behind them, Earth continued to shine brightly in the darkness of space. Humanity had won, for now, but everyone knew something important. The galaxy was watching, and humanity had just proven it was not weak anymore.